real quick. Okay. All right. You can start the recording. And we're good. Okay. So, Juan, good to see you again. Let's see, Richard and Sweetie. I think maybe this is your first time in a training session. So, what's that? So I'll assume that you guys are just kind of getting into the system and make sure we go over some of the basics first. Just the stuff that you kind of have to know in order to get things set up in SalesNexus. And then hopefully, by a half an hour or so in, we can, switch gears and really just start. You guys ask me questions and we'll dive into your specific, questions and needs and so on. That said, as we're going through this beginning part, do not hesitate to interrupt me and, ask a question. The whole point of this exercise is for you to learn what you need to know. So don't be shy.
I do have a quick question. Did you just cut out for a minute or two? Was it just on my end?
I may have. I hope not, but I may have. I didn't notice it myself.
Okay. I don't know if it was just on my end or what, but it totally went blank and just.
Okay. Well, if you guys start to see problems with the transmission of my screen or the audio piece, let me know. Just send me a message in the chat.
Okay.
And that way I can, do something to adjust it. If needs be, maybe I'll turn off my video and that might save some bandwidth, but I feel like I got pretty good internet right now. So fingers crossed. Okay. So let me turn on my screen.
Thank you.
All right. So now I'm going to get into SalesNexus. Well, actually, since we got a couple of folks that are here for the first time, I just want to make sure and let everybody know, if you need help, we're here for you. You can go to salesnexus.com/support and you'll find all of our training videos there. You can also search our knowledge base there. We have tons of articles and things on, how to do this and that. You can go to our YouTube channel where we have a lot of new content getting posted. What we're actually doing is these trainings, when people ask questions that, other people ask a lot, we're just cutting out those little pieces of the video and putting it on YouTube. So there's a lot of good, helpful, short little videos there. And then finally, you can email us at support@salesnexus.com. And that opens a ticket in our support system. And this is not what you're used to with other software companies. You're going to get great support from our team. We've always done that really well. And we want you to take advantage of it. There's no limits. You don't have to pay extra for it. On average, you're going to get a response to your question within an hour or two. And on average, your question, your issue will be resolved in less than a day. So, don't be shy about taking advantage of that. And then finally, if you don't mind giving us a review, that's really helpful. Helps other people find SalesNexus, and it helps us know that we're doing the right thing. So I'm going to put that in the chat here, put this link. And if you guys are willing to give us a positive review, just take a screenshot of it and then send it to us, and we'll give you a free upgrade. So take advantage of that. Okay, now let's get into the system. So with SalesNexus, the main thing that we have to do in the beginning is figure out how you're going to organize your customers. Everybody has some way that they think about the different segments in their market, right? It might be kind of regionally, like, I got my Dallas customers and my Atlanta customers and things like that. But it also might be, I got leads, and then I got my prospects where I've kind of got a deal working, and then I got my real clients, and then finally I got my former clients, right? One way or the other, that's not quite enough, right? In your business, you need to know certain things about your customers that I don't need to know about my customers, right? So as an example, if you're in the real estate business, you may need to know, just amongst your leads, which ones are looking to sell and which ones are looking to buy, or which ones are looking to buy a home that's, worth more than $1 million, right? Those are your hot prospects or whatever, right? So with SalesNexus, you can set it up so it's real easy to manage those really unique segments or lists of customers just the way you want. And so that's what I want to make sure that you see right now. The result should be, you can come in here and just grab a list and say, okay, show me all my prospects. And it's the list of prospects as defined by you, right? Whatever prospect means to you. Or show me all my agents, or, show me all my active brokers. Whatever that means to you, you can grab that list, and now we could put them on a campaign or whatever we want to do with them, right? So the way we do that is we create and lay out fields in the system. So here on this customer record, you can see over on the left, I just have some basic stuff, where are we in the sales stage? We're in the sales process, so maybe we're at the quote process or quote step. And then, next we're going to go to, verification, and then we're going to they're going to do a trial, and then we're going to close them, right? Where did this lead come from? They responded to an ad, and what's their status? Are they a customer or a prospect or a lead or whatever? That's basic. Then over here on the right, you can have more stuff. If I'm in the medical industry, I might want to know which hospital, they work at, and what type of professional are they, and what certifications do they have, and, other things. And you can see here on the right side, I can have multiple different, we call them tabs or pages of more information, right? So you have to decide what are those things that you need to know about your customers. The way I always suggest beginning to think about that is just ask yourself, when, if somebody tells you about their brother-in-law at a cocktail party and says, hell, you really ought to talk to my brother-in-law, they'd be a great customer for you, right? What are the questions you're going to ask to really find out, is this a real good prospect for me, or is it just somebody knows, right? Those qualification questions. Let's create little fields here for you to put the answers into the system, right? So once you do, it's really easy to lay them all out. You just go here to edit layout. And here, maybe I don't want to mess around with that sales stage field, but I want to know, maybe I'm in some kind of an industrial business, and I want to know what type of equipment do they have, and what type of generator do they have, right? So I'm going to put that stuff over here on the right and then move it to the top so it'll be easy to find. And now you see there's those fields right there. And so that's the idea. You're just going to decide what those fields need to be, and then place them on the screen in the order, kind of lay them out in a way that's logical in your business. If there's some fields already built into your account that you can start with, like status and lead source and things like that. And then you can go up here to settings and go to organize and customize. And here's where you can add new fields, so you can take any field that's already in there and change its properties, right? So if I just want to add things to the drop down for this decision maker field, right over here, I could add, maybe I want to also have a value to say that they're a influencer on the decision, but they're not really the decision maker, right? Or I can go here, hit the plus, and create a new field, and I can make it a date field or a time or a checkbox. You know, you have a lot of different options here. If you make it character, that's where you can choose. It's a drop down, and you have some other options here. But that's how you create a field. And then you go back and do the edit layout and place it on the screen like we looked at earlier. So anybody have any questions about that, how the creating and laying out the fields works?
Would that be I guess that, so if I have a question pertaining to how to set up a campaign, I guess, would that be when you get to the campaign kind of?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm about to get into that. That's next, really.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. So okay. That's, step one is organize your customers. You'll go here to contacts and then import contacts. That's where you'll load in lists of contacts that you have, CSV files, Excel files, whatever. And then you'll also want to create what we call those saved lookups. That's where I go to the contacts and I say view all contacts, and I have all these saved lists, right? Well, once you've created your fields, now you can create your own very unique list like this by going to contacts, create lookup, and then we'll set the criteria by using those fields. Here we go. So maybe I want to, use one of those fields that we were looking at earlier. Type of equipment is equal to hospitality supply, and their status is, they're a member or they're a new lead or whatever, right? So you set the criteria. You can see you can be very detailed. You can have 8 different criteria set up. And you do the search. I didn't get anything back because I'm just making stuff up as I go here. But you would then save that. And I might just call it hospitality leads, right? Save that. And now whenever I go to contacts, view all contacts, there's that list that I can grab, right? So now you kind of got everything organized. It's easy to just go and grab a list, and this is dynamic, So if I go to one of these contacts and I say hospitality supply, right? So now they just went on to that hospitality list. Well, let's go back and try that again. I think, I don't know if I'm using the right field or not, but the idea is they would show up there. I don't want to beat that up and waste time for you guys right now, but that's the idea. Now, once you have these lists, one of the reasons it's important to organize them like this is because I might want to I got a special offer that I want to make to everybody that I've already had some kind of a sales conversation with. They're sort of ready for a deal, right? So I don't want to send it to every lead that I have, the people that have not even seen a demo or met me or whatever your process looks like. So I can go in here and I can say, give me all the prospects, and then say add to campaign. And so this is how I would add them to a campaign. So Juan, to answer your question, once you have everything set up, this is how you would get it started. I'm going to back up and go through the setup process in a minute. But I can just choose any one of these campaigns. And like you see here, I got a multi-step campaign that's an email and then a call and a text message and an email and a call, so on and so forth, right? And you see here how many days, that's the kind of the sequence, how it falls on the calendar. So you see here, it says look up 991. So that's the list of prospects that I pulled from that list earlier. Or I can just go here and say, let me use one of those saved lookups. So I'm going to go find my active brokers. And you see it tells me, okay, well, we got 131 of those. So I can say add to campaign. Yes, done. Set it and forget it. All those emails and text messages are going out on the right schedule. I could go on vacation for the next couple of weeks, right? So that's how you use it. Now let's build one. So first thing is we go up here to campaigns, email templates, and this is where you'll create your template. So you have all these little designs here that you can start with and just drag in your own images and replace the text. I'll just start with this little text template to keep it simple, and we'll call it example. And that's just going to open it up now in our email editor. And, you know, if all I want is a text email, all I got to do is go here and replace the text with whatever you want it to say. Now, you notice when I click into this little text box, I get this little toolbar here. So, you know, here's where you can format it and change the colors and all of the normal stuff. But one important detail, the merge tags. So this is where you can mail merge in your own data, your own custom fields. You know, so maybe we're in the insurance business and we want an email campaign to remind people about their upcoming renewal of their policy, right? So maybe I want to put in something like your policy renews on, and then I go here to merge tags. And right here under add contact field, I'll just find renewal date. And so that's going to mail merge in the renewal date for each and every contact. So everybody's getting a personalized email. This up here is the mail merge for their first name. And this down here is the mail merge for my name and phone number as the sender of the email. So now, if I want to put an image in and stuff like that, make it look a little fancier, I go over here to content and I just drag over the image here, and that puts in an image block. And I hit browse. And now I have all the images that I previously uploaded to SalesNexus that I can just grab, or I can upload a new one right here in the top left. I will just grab this one and insert that one. And then maybe I want to resize it a little bit. So I go over here and uncheck that. And I can then drag this little slider around to just, you know, size it however I want. You can link that image by putting in a link here so that when they click on the image, it'll take them to a web page, right? Another little trick is you want to make sure and fill in the alt text. You know, you can describe the image or you can put something about, you know, your company or whatever, but that text helps the spam filter know that this is a legit email, and it helps you get past the spam filters. And then let's see, if we want to put in a button, go back here to content, click on that, drag over a button. And so then I can put, you know, sign up here, or in this case, it should be renew your policy here, right? And then I would put the link right here, the link that button should take them to, right? So pretty easy here to set up your emails. One thing that you want to make sure and do is first save it, obviously. And then just a couple of things under actions here I want to show everybody. You go to actions and you can preview it. So that's just, you know, show me what this thing looks like in the real world, right? And that allows you to click on all any links you have and make sure they're going to the right place and just double check everything. But the other thing you want to do is click on mobile here. And that shows you what it's going to look like on a phone. And a lot of your emails will be opened on a phone, probably more than half of them. So it's worth doing that. Sometimes your graphics will make things look a little weird on mobile, and you just want to double check that. Then we can exit that and go back to actions, send test. That just, hey, send it to me so I can look at what it looks like to see it in my inbox, right? So you just put in your email and hit send, and now it's going to show up in your inbox. And then finally, save as template. So this just makes a copy. So I'm just giving it a new name. And now it's going to create a new template, exact copy of the first one with a different name. And now here we are editing that second template. So that's how you create the email templates. Anybody have any questions about that piece?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have some emails like with emails only and some with phone numbers only.
Okay.
How would I make a campaign to where basically we kind of filter out the ones with email only in one kind of group, the ones with phone only in one group, and then the first campaign we send out, we want to basically be able to send them an initial email and then ideally call them after they, click on the email or whatnot, and then follow up with another email. But we want to make sure that they have a phone number in there and not just sending it to, people who just have emails only or vice versa.
Right. Yeah. Well, so that's a really good question. And there's some different options, but I'll show you in a minute how you can do, when you do your lookup to pull the list that you're going to put on the campaign, you can filter out who has a phone number or who does not. But also, just so everybody knows, even if you don't take care to do what you're suggesting, and you just put a bunch of people on a campaign, and some of them don't even have an email address, right? It's not going to break anything. The system's going to try to send an email to that person and see that there is no email address and just skip it. So it's not the end of the world if you put people on a campaign that don't have an email. But for the phone part, I get it. You don't want to be sitting there trying to call people that don't have a phone number, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'll look at that in a minute.
Okay, cool. And I appreciate it. And I just wanted to let you know really quick. Remember the issue from last week where I was having the problem uploading the emails. Uploading the contacts into the importing them.
Right.
It was in fact basically when I unformatted the whole list of leads. And I kind of went through and checked, the larger rows.
Right.
I kind of noticed the ones that were kind of didn't look right, and I basically I would fix a comma or a space. It was something minute, and so far I haven't had any issues with it. So I think
good.
Yeah, it worked out fine.
Good. Well, that's good news.
It. Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So okay. So now we've got an email template, but one thing that's really different about SalesNexus, if you're familiar with other email programs, is that the email template and the campaign are two separate things, and you have to link them together. It's not hard to do or anything, but it's just something that people need to learn when they're learning the system. So here I am looking at this email, and you notice right here, top right, it says start a campaign with this template. So I just click that, and then it's going to ask you what's the subject line. So I'm going to put in your policy is renewing, and then your campaign name is just, that's for your own internal organization purposes. So I'll just call it renewal and hit next. And now it's going to open up our campaign builder. And so if all I want to do is send out one email to all these people, then I'm basically done here. I can just save this and move to the next step. But, one of the big powerful features of SalesNexus is that you can create an ongoing sequence of things like we were kind of looking at earlier. So maybe kind of like Juan, you were talking about just a minute ago, maybe I want the second thing in this sequence to be, I'm going to call them, right? So I go down here and I say call and I say add. And that's just adding another step to the campaign. And here you can choose something from this list, or you can hit the little plus and put whatever you want in the regarding. That's what's going to show up on your to-do list, you know? So now the number of days after the start date, that's kind of how you set the sequence, right? And then you can define who that call is going to be assigned to. These are your users in your account. So, you know, it might just be you right now in this list. If you have multiple users, they'll all show up here, and you can assign that call to a certain person. So if Dawn's the person that does all the cold calling, then we put Dawn's name here. Or you can go down here and say contacts record manager. And now what the system's going to do is automatically assign the calls to the sales rep responsible for each account or each customer. So that's a kind of a neat trick if you're managing a bigger sales team. I'll just put Dawn here and hit save. And so you see, now I have a two-step campaign. I can go down here and say, okay, I want the next thing to be a text message. Let's add that. Let's put that on the 5th day. Let's have that come from Jerry. And I can just start typing the message and use the mail merge fields over here. I'll just grab a existing one that we already have to keep it easy. You see how that, you know, it's just the same as creating text in your email. Hit save. Now I got a 3-step sequence. One other thing for the techies in the room, you can even add a webhook to your campaign. So if, you know, maybe we've reached out to these customers, we've done everything. We sent them emails, text messages, we called them, the whole 9 yards. And at the end of that process, you want to ping that data for that customer over to another system that maybe is going to send them a direct mail piece or something like that. You can do that by using these webhooks. Let me just save this campaign though. And then you see save and begin campaign. So that's kind of the easy button. I could say, all right, let's schedule this for tomorrow morning at 8:30. And then just like we looked at earlier, I'll send it to the saved lookups of the borrowers, right? I only have one of those. Let's try to find a better one. You know, here's 3 people with large lots in California, right? So I say begin campaign and yes. And now all I need to worry about is the fact that those calls are going to show up on my to-do list or on Dawn's to-do list here in 2 or 3 days. The emails and the text messages are automatic. Now, circle back to your question, Juan. You could come in here and maybe in your case, you might want to create special lookups, right?
Yes.
And save them, and you would go here and say, phone is blank, right?
Okay.
But they are a new lead,
Yes.
And then you could put those guys on just an email drip, right? But then if phone is not blank, right? Oh, I got to click that. I'm trying to, let me do this again. New lead. Okay. Phone is not blank. Yeah. So there's 10 people that are new leads and do have a phone number, right?
Okay.
So now I could take those guys and if you don't want to, you don't have to go up here and save it or anything. You can just go make this my lookup and then add to campaign. And what do we call that? Renewals. Yeah. Right. And then it's going to show it to you, so you kind of double check this is the one I want to use. Right. and then I'll schedule that for tomorrow, right? So that's going to schedule it. See how it says lookup 10? Mm-hmm. So whatever you do in that lookup, when you click that make that my lookup button, that becomes kind of the working list in the system that you can add to campaigns and run reports on and whatever else you want to do.
Okay, so back to the texting of numbers. Does it also text landlines? Because I know there's some capability to text landlines. Mm-hmm. Or does it only text cell phone numbers if they're in the cell phone field?
No, it'll attempt to text them, because you're right that some office phone systems mm-hmm. can receive text messages, and I'm not even sure, what works and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. But it'll attempt to do it. In fact, when you're setting up your connecting SalesNexus to your Ring Central account to do that, it lets you choose any phone number field and kind of rank them. So that, like in our case, in our database, we have a mobile phone field and a separate, kind of office phone field, mm-hmm. right? So you can say, try the mobile phone first, and if that's blank or does not work, then try the regular phone, right?
Okay.
And you could add multiple numbers in there if you want to. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, good. Let's see. What else? What other questions do you guys have? We covered a lot here in a short amount of time. Let me know if I need to go back over some of that. What should happen once you've done all of this stuff, right? You've done all the setup stuff. You've got your customers organized. You've got your campaigns set up. Now, and you're scheduling them, scheduling the right people or getting the right campaigns. Now your sales rep doesn't need to worry about what to do every day, right? Just come into your tasks, view task lists. And if I'm Mary, the salesperson, here's the people I got to call today, right? I don't have to, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. In fact, the system is telling me why I'm calling them in the first place. So I don't really even need to do a lot of research to click and dial the phone, So like Adam here, he's somebody that filled out my, web form, like my contact us form on my website. And he got added to SalesNexus. So if I click in to Adam, then over here on the right, I can see everything that he put into that form, just straight from the form. Anything else, if I've already talked to him or something like that, maybe, anything else that I've updated in those fields like we talked about before. And I just click, and it's going to dial your phone, whatever phone system you have installed on your computer. It will click, when you click that call link, it'll send that phone number to that soft phone, they call it, and dial the phone for you. So, you're on the phone with Adam, you got your phone in one hand and your mouse in the other. And while you're talking to him, right, you're able to sit here and go, okay, well, what kind of generator do you have? And what kind of equipment? Are we talking fast food or fine dining or what, right? And he's telling you, and you're entering the answers. And now in the background, there's an automation that, because he told me he's doing fast food and delivery only, and he's got a portable generator, I got just the product for him, and he's automatically on the right follow-up campaign, right? I don't even have to go do that or, put him on that campaign. That's what we call an automation, which I'll show you in a minute. But that's kind of the idea from a sales point of view. I took care of Adam, I hit next, and that's Adrian here is the next person on that list that we started with, right? I click, dial the phone, we have a conversation. Maybe in my conversation with Adrian, he needs to be sent something special. So I hit email template, and here I've got all my pre-designed emails that I can choose from. And if I need to, I can, customize the text or whatever, and hit send. And out that email goes to Adrian. And same thing. Hit next, go to the next person, and do it again, right? So the idea is once you've got everything organized, you can make a lot of calls in a very short amount of time. If you're a small business and it's kind of you that has to do all the calling, then, the issue is you got a million things to do every day. Calling customers and trying to make sales is just one of those things, and you know how it is. You carve out sometimes only 30 minutes or an hour in your day to do that, right? You need to be able to get in there, get after it, and make a bunch of calls so you can move on and run the business, right? So that's why we organize things the way we do in SalesNexus, so that you can make a lot of calls in a short amount of time. If you're you're managing a sales team, the challenge is getting your salespeople to make those touches every day, right? To make enough touches, one way or the other. It's always a numbers game, right? If you make enough touches, then good things will happen. With salespeople, a lot of times it's just hard to get them up to that level of productivity. With SalesNexus, once you've got it organized like this, you can make 50 or more calls in an hour. And I'm not exaggerating. I've done it myself. I do it on a regular basis. We do it. That's one of the hardest things for me to convince salespeople of when they first join us, right? When we hire somebody, they look at me like I'm crazy, right? But once we get them up to that level, good things start happening, So it's worth the effort to get everything organized like this. So let's look at the automations. We created a campaign earlier. So now let's create an automation for that renewal campaign, right? So I go up here to campaigns, automation plans. And here's where I'm going to set up the rules for when to trigger that renewal campaign, right? In fact, I think I've already done this before. So let me find that. Yeah. Slowly. Okay, here we go. So you just give it a name at the top, and then here under criteria, it's kind of like doing one of those lookups that we looked at earlier. You're just going to add in contact fields. So like you see here, renewal date is greater than or equal to 3 months, should be, 3 months from now, right? So 3 months in the future. So as soon as the renewal date gets within 90 days, then automatically this campaign will be triggered. And it's going to show it to you, so you make sure you're scheduling the right thing. And now you're not having to go do lookups and put a whole list of people on a campaign. It's literally happening in real time, one contact at a time, all day, every day, right? Completely automatically. So in this case, you've got this campaign that will automatically happen. All you have to do is make sure the renewal date field is accurate, right? They'll start getting emails. And then when this task shows up on your call list, on your task list that says renewal call, then they've already gotten 2 emails from you. So when you call them, you can kind of use that knowledge in your calling script, right? Hey, Bob, I've sent you a couple of emails about your upcoming renewal, blah, blah, blah. And while you're on there, you're making those calls, right? You've got that renewal date right there on the screen, so you can tell them, right? Your renewal date is May 15th, right? Any questions about the automations and how those work?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So let's take Matt. Let's say I'm a musician, so I'm selling like 3 different products.
Okay.
So one could be a song, one could be an audio book, one could be an instrumental. Just 3 different products. So let's take Matt for example here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say Matt buys the book, and I want to stop sending him emails for the book and start the emails for the song.
Right.
So let's say he's on all three of these. I got him set up for three different products. Do I put them all under Matt? So if he unsubscribed from one of my campaigns, will it automatically keep the other two, or how does that work?
Well,
Or how should I set it up?
right.
Like I said last time I spoke with you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I hate when I get emails after I purchase a product and I
Right.
still keep getting the emails.
Yeah. Let me try to give you an example of how I would approach that. It's definitely not the only way, but probably the most straight ahead way is if you go to settings and organize and customize. I believe in your account there is already a product field. Let's see, yeah, product. And so here I got my different products, right?
All right.
So let me just go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and put book. What did you say? And then there's an audio book.
Yes, an audio spoken word audio book.
And then what else?
A song.
The song.
A musical song.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Put that in there. And then we can get rid of whatever other junk is in there beforehand. Okay. So now, then we're going to go back to a customer record and just go to edit layout here. And I'm going to go find that product field. And add that to the layout. And I'll put it up on top so it'll be easy to find. And so there you go. There's our products, right?
Uh-huh.
So now what you'll do is you may, in your case, big picture, what I would be thinking is I'm going to need 4 campaigns, possibly more than that, but just kind of that's where I would start. The first campaign will be a campaign just about you and what you do and all the different things that you can do, right? No, not focusing on any particular thing, right?
Yeah.
And everybody goes on that campaign when they come in as a new lead, right? But then as soon as they buy a book, right, then there'll be an automation that says, okay, when they have purchased a book, then we automatically want to switch them to a new campaign that's going to tell them all about what we can do with audiobooks, right? And then as soon as they buy an audiobook, then we're going to have an automation that switches them to a new campaign that's going to tell them all about what we do with songs, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, you could do that in reverse, whatever you think the right sequence of things is. And so you're going to end up with 4 campaigns and 3 automations, right? 1 automation for each value in this list, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the first introduction is like a nurturing process, an introduction.
Yep.
So let's say he buys the book and now he's getting the campaign for the audiobook and he unsubscribes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once he unsubscribed, will it automatically send him to the songs on a different campaign?
No, and this is going to get a little complicated, but just stop me if I start to confuse you. So the unsubscribe, they can unsubscribe from any subscription list that you create in SalesNexus, by default, there's just one. Just your account has a default subscription list. But
All right.
the problem is when they unsubscribe, that means they're not going to get any more emails from you, right?
Oh.
So I've never heard anybody doing it exactly the way you're thinking about it, but there's no reason you couldn't. Like in our business, the way we do it is we have a subscription list for our marketing emails, but a separate one for client support and billing and stuff like that, right? So in other words, you can be a SalesNexus customer and still get important announcements about the update that we did last night or your bill or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But opt out of getting the marketing emails. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you could do the same thing. You could have separate subscription lists for books and audiobooks and songs, right? The way you would do that is you would go here to campaigns and then manage subscriptions. And here you'll see just default mailing list, but then you can create a new one, and call it audiobooks. And you can put in some details if you want. And you can, if you've already done a lookup of the people that should be on that list, you can opt them into it just to get things started, but you don't have to. And now you see, I got these 3 different lists, right? And what this means, like in this case, we have a default list, a billing list, a rate sheet list, and an audiobooks list. So when you get my emails and you click the unsubscribe link, you're going to get a page that says, would you like to opt out of all emails or choose these specific lists that you'd like to opt out of?
I like
Does that make sense how that works?
Great system connection. Workflow.
Yeah.
And then to follow up on that,
Mhm.
how would so currently on our website, we have a form embedded for people to sign up for our mailing list. It's a little
Mhm.
pop-up. Do we have an option for some kind of code that I can embed on my website for people to sign up for my mailing lists?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah, we're a little different than other systems in that you'll create the form in your website. What do you use for your website?
So right now, for forms, because it's a WordPress site, we're using Contact 7, but we also
Okay.
have a pop-up that is actually embedded code that comes from HubSpot,
Got it.
our current CRM.
Yeah,
So we have both.
got it. Yeah, so the HubSpot part, you'll have to replace that, and
Yep.
since you're using WordPress, there's lots of plugins you can grab that will do the same thing, basically, right?
Yep.
You design it to look and work the way you want, and then what you do in SalesNexus is you come to settings, and then you go to integrations, and you go here to website, and here you're just going to map SalesNexus fields to the fields in your form. So here, this is set up for more of a detailed form where you're asking them what kind of insurance they're interested in and all of that, right? In your case, if you're talking about just opting in, then you might go here, choose fields, and I'm going to get rid of everything but the email, and so then all I do here is I put in whatever that field is named in your plugin or in WordPress. Sometimes it'll have weird names, but a lot of times it's something like email, and submit. And there's some help information on how to do this. But you do that, and then you hit here, save and generate script, and it gives you a little JavaScript that you put into that form so that when they hit the submit button, it calls that JavaScript, and that's it.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
it does.
And then a little finer point on this that everybody kind of ends up needing to learn either the hard way or the easy way. So all I put in here is the email, right? But you're back to where we started. A really important part of how you're using SalesNexus is organizing the customers, right? So what I want to do probably is make sure that when people opt into my newsletter, that I'm tagging them with some kind of field so it's easy for me to pull up the list of people who have opted into my newsletter, right? So I want to go here to choose fields here, and we're going to add in at least one, maybe more fields. So I'm going to go and find my lead source field, because that's just kind of what we use by default to keep track of this sort of thing, and add that in. And you could add more. It's up to you. And now you see I got this additional row here, and I can say constant, and then I'm going to put in newsletter opt-in, right? So what that's doing is it's saying everybody that fills out that form, make sure and set the lead source to newsletter opt-in. So I can always go and do a search in SalesNexus for everybody that has that value in lead source, and that's my list that I need to send the newsletter to, right? So a lot you can play with here in terms of mapping the forms. And you can do this for multiple forms, you know, so I would do newsletter and then hit save and generate script, and it's going to be a script for the that opt-in form. But then I could go and do a different form for my contact us or whatever. Just give it a different name here, and it'll give you a different script.
I like that. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yes, that's like for like. Thank you.
Is there specific trainings for just this section on what you just did?
Not really, no. What I would recommend is come to this page. Again, it's just settings, integrations, website, and then click right here. That's going to take you to our help article that really walks you through it with screenshots. It's actually doing it in WordPress. And just follow that as you go through it the first time. And then if you run into issues, you know, just reach out to the support team, and they can help you troubleshoot it.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Let's see. What else? What other questions you guys have? One thing I didn't look at earlier, but I want to be sure and clarify because people get confused a lot. In your SalesNexus account, you get a certain number of credits to do what we call enrich contacts, right? Meaning, like you were talking about earlier, Juan, you got contacts that you just have emails, but you don't have phone numbers. You need to try this. You go here. Well,
Yes, I have tried it. It's awesome.
Oh, okay. You have. Good.
Yes, it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So for everybody else, you can do it one contact at a time. So like I'm on Adam here, and you see the little up button. I've already done it with Adam in the past. That's why it's gray, but normally it would be green. And I say, enrich this contact, and it's going to look for Adam in our B2B contact database and bring in any missing information. So like if I didn't have his mobile number already, boom, it would show up there, right? It's matching on the email address. So if you don't have their email in the first place, this isn't really going to help you. But if you do have emails, or like I'm not sure who was asking a minute ago about the opt-in form, right? You probably have a bunch of people who have opted in, but you don't have phone numbers, right? You can go also and do it on a list. So if I go here, I got my ramped up demo list pre-saved. So this is just, 5 people that I have limited information. I don't know what company they work for, or any mobile numbers or any of that. So I hit the little up button, and now it's going to do the same thing, but for the entire list that I'm looking at instead of just one contact at a time. You see it found all 5 of them, and it's going to come back and give me company info and titles and personal email addresses and how many employees they have, and just all kinds of social links, all kinds of really valuable data. So that's built into your account. So I would recommend just playing around with that, one contact at a time. You can go to, there's a social tab that should be in your account by default, and that's where you'll see, their social links that come in when you enrich them, and you see the phone numbers and everything right on the main screen. So definitely try that out. And then again, just trying to be clear for everybody, that's built into your account. It's included. There's no additional charge. You get a certain number of credits to do that every month. Everybody gets at least 100 up to maybe 300 per person or per user. If you want to enrich but matching on something besides the email, we can do that, but there's a separate system you have to use for that, and there's additional charges. And in that same system, we can also build new lists, of contacts that you don't already have. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and we can get you some more information about that. In fact, you can just go to the website, and if you click on contact enrichment here at the top, there's a little video that'll kind of show you all of those different aspects of how you can use this. Okay. What else? What other questions you guys have?
I have a question on the templates. How often do y'all update the templates? So like, I went in there looking for music templates, and there's nothing on entertainment.
Yeah. We're not trying to have a template for every industry or anything. The way I suggest you use those templates is just look at them from a structure point of view. Like maybe I like this because I'm about to, maybe you're promoting some big event that you're going to have, right? Choose whichever layout that you like. And then what you do is open it up. And then you just click here, and I can change that image like we looked at earlier, right? To your image, right? And the same thing down here. Change that image to something else. And very quickly, when you start doing that, it starts having a whole different look and feel, right? Start replacing these images with images of, musicians and instruments and whatever, right? And now it's starting to look like something meaningful to your customers, right? And then same thing with the text. You just go here and, change the text.
So the templates only images and text. Can you do audio and video?
Well, not in the email itself, but like for video or audio, I guess you could. I haven't messed around with that too much myself. So, but like, let me just show you an example of this because I do this regularly myself. So it's probably just easier to show you in the real world. So if I go to my web page, or I'm sorry, my YouTube page, right? And I forget now that I'm kind of under the gun, I can't remember how to do it, but there's a way to get a view here. I think if I log out and I'm not logged into my YouTube account and I look at this video, it'll have the nice little play button right here in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
And then what I would do is just go take a screenshot of that, right? Whichever part of it you want to get. And save that, and then I'm going to copy the URL to that video, and then go back to SalesNexus, and I'll change that image and upload that new one. So there's that image. And then while it's selected, I'll come over here and put the link to that YouTube video, right?
All right.
And then I could change that button too, you know. Watch it here, right? And then put that same link there, right? So now when they click on that image or they click on the button, they're going to get my video, right?
All right.
And it could be the same thing with your audio file, right?
Yeah.
And if I could just make a 3-cent comment here, you don't want to embed a video inside of an email anyway. This is what he's showing here is a better way to do it.
Yeah.
Too many ways that people have to block content within emails, and one of the flags within most email clients is to look for embedded videos and executable files like that.
Yeah, that is exactly right, Crystal. Thank you for adding that. In fact, one other thing, just to kind of steer people in the right direction, that this comes up a lot. There is a way, or people ask a lot, can I attach a document to these emails, right? And it's the same thing applies that Crystal was just talking about. That's kind of when you're doing a blast to a list of people, it's kind of a flag to the spam filters if you've got something attached. It looks a lot like you're trying to, it's some kind of attack with some infected virus attachment or something, right? So what you do instead, let's say here in this template, I want them to be able to access some PDF document or something, right? View the report here, right? Then what I'll do is I'll go over here to campaigns and add to library. And here I can upload documents into my public library. So I'm just going to click on the folder I want to use and then hit upload. And hopefully I got a PDF sitting there that we can use. Yeah. So there, you see how it gave me it uploaded it into the SalesNexus library and it gave me the URL. So all I got to do is copy that and then go back to that template. I forget if I saved that or not, but whatever. Yeah, and see that button there, and then I'll put the link to that PDF, right? So that's a better way to do a file so that it doesn't get caught in the spam filters.
All right. Thank you, Crystal and Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to end up on a blacklist by doing something that you think is innocent, but that will end you up on a blacklist. And I can tell you that you won't get off once you're on. For most of these email servers, you'll stay on.
Yeah, there are ways to get off, and we do have a partner that can help with that if anybody has that kind of an issue. But let's try to keep you off. That's the key. In fact, you're setting me up here. You're throwing me softballs, Crystal. There's two things that everybody needs to know about, kind of maintaining your email delivery reputation. Really three things. One is, first of all, we're watching it for you, so don't sweat it too much. If we see a problem, we're just going to pick up the phone and call you. And, as long as we're unlike our competitors, we're not just going to shut you down. As long as when we call you and make some recommendations, as long as we're all cooperating, then it's all good, But in terms of how you can manage it yourself, you first want to go here to settings, email, set up DKIM. Make sure you do this. There's an article here and here that's going to show you how to do it. It's just a 3-step process. in your DNS that you have to do. That tells the spam filters that the emails coming from the SalesNexus server are really yours. It's not some kind of a scam. That helps a lot. It's become very important in the last couple of years. So that's step one. Step two is when you're loading lists, you need to be careful about the source. I've seen this a lot recently. There's some list validation tools out there that are real super affordable, but you get what you pay for, unfortunately. So if you are not already emailing the list that you're loading, and so you don't know the deliverability of the list that you load into SalesNexus, it is definitely worthwhile to do what we call a cleanse. And you do that by going to settings and then add contacts. And then over here on the left, you see manage imported lists. So here you have every list that you've ever loaded into SalesNexus. And you can check off, any of them that you want to, or you can do the whole database. And you go here to cleanse and say selected lists, start cleansing. And what this does, it's going to ask you to pay for it. You can see right now it's set to 2 cents per email. That's normally 4 cents. We lowered it as a promotional thing, which will be available through the end of the year. I'm sorry, not the end of the year, the end of this week. But 2 cents. And what this does is it, number one, it checks that the email is valid, it's deliverable, which is a big deal, because you don't want to send to a bunch of bad emails. That gets your reputation damaged. But almost more importantly, it also will remove emails from your list that are what's known as a spam trap. And it does not take a lot of those. I could tell you stories about customers who have lists that they have curated very carefully. They know all of these people on the list, and there are still spam traps on the list, meaning every email that you send to that email automatically gets reported to spam or reported as spam to Gmail or Outlook or somebody like that, which is bad. You don't want that. So this service cleanses that off of your list so you don't have to worry about it. So it's worth doing. Any questions about that and how that works?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
So a problem that we have had with our beloved HubSpot
Mm-hmm.
is if I've had an email that bounced not because it was a bad email address, but because the server was having a bad day. So the
Right.
day that we happened to send out the email, their server happened to be completely down. So it bounced and came back with the message that the server was down. That no alternative. It wasn't like the server was having problems. It was just like down.
Right.
So what it does is it blocks them from any subsequent emails, even though I am able to confirm through independent measures that this email address is still a valid email address and
Right.
was just down for the one day. But
Right.
now HubSpot has it on a permanent blackout.
Right.
So when I send out emails, I've got like 5 of them now that I'm collecting, and I know that when I send out marketing emails, I have to go to these 5 different email addresses and separately send out this email directly to them because I cannot do it through HubSpot. So I get the email out, but what I lose as a benefit is all of that.
Tracking.
Yes, the tracking and analytical data. So
Sure.
what are my options with you guys?
Yeah, good question and good news. So let me just take the opportunity to just kind of get into the details of that, because there's a lot of ways all of this can be helpful. Your example is just one of them. So in SalesNexus, there are a couple of fields that you need to know about. One, they're called do not send. Let me go find them here. Yeah, do not send and do not send date. And they are pretty self-explanatory. Do not send is set to 1 when your email bounces. And the do not send date is the date that takes place. So you can always go and say, after the course, it's been a month, right? Let me go see who may have bounced in the last 30 days, because I might want to reach out to them, see if their email changed or something, right? So you can always do a search, right? Do a lookup of, do not send equals 1. I have no idea what we're going to get in my little demo database here. They may all be 1. I'm not sure, but let's check. Yeah, there's 223 people that cannot get emails from this account. So, couple of things we can do about that. Number 1, I could go into each account or each contact and just, if I know these people, right, I might call Aaliyah here and ask her, hey, did your email change? What's going on, right? And she may say, yeah, I had to change my email. It's getting too much spam, blah, blah, blah. If I hit edit and just change that email, that automatically resets the do not send flag to 0. So now she can get emails, right? So that's a, one at a time kind of a fix. Mm-hmm. Also, I can go to any list. When you go here to contacts, view lookup, you have this little edit list option. So like you said, maybe there was something going on and I got, 200 people at, Procter & Gamble or some big corporation or something like that. And I just know they had their email server went berserk one day, right? And that's why everybody got marked as bounced. So I go here to edit list and I can say right here, mark as do not send the entire list, right? This is how I would block them from getting future emails, right? So if somebody says, hey, quit emailing my company, that's how I would do that, right? Or I can go here and oh, you know what? I'm sorry, Crystal. We have some capabilities when we're helping you with your account that you don't have, and I'm getting all confused about what's what. If you have a list that you need to mark as sendable again, then the best way to do that is cleanse it. And if they come back as valid or verified in the cleanse, it will
unblock them,
unset that do not send.
Yeah.
Flag, right.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I just want to know that I have options because, like I said, I've got these 5 now that I seem to be collecting that I have no recourse for.
Right.
And the worst part is I can't even simply change their email address with one guy. He just gave me an alternative email address. I had to create a whole new contact record for him.
Huh.
Because changing the email address wasn't enough to unset the flag. It still showed that particular record. Any email address I put in for that particular record will be blocked.
Huh.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. It's very stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you only have 5 of them, so it's easy to fix those, right?
Oh, yeah. That's why it's not a problem, but we're growing and
right.
That problem's going to grow.
Yeah, for sure. What else? Anybody have any other questions? No?
Hi,
Hey, Craig,
Craig.
I have a question really quick, Craig.
Yes, sir.
Did you get a chance to check my DKIM?
I think I did. And I think I emailed you about it, but I can't
Okay,
remember.
I'll double check my email because I'm thousands behind.
Yeah, I forget honestly, but I'll look it up. I'm sure I can find the email I sent you, and I'll circle back with you.
I'll look it up, and if you haven't, I'll send a support email.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. And let's see, Sweetie, I think you were about to ask a question.
Yeah, hi Craig. Actually, like this is the first session I'm attending, so I did not follow up the last few, but just wanted to understand like when we import the contacts, right? So is there a like feature of removing the duplication data? I mean,
Yeah.
it does have.
Let me show you that. So when you're importing contacts, you go to Contacts, Import. And first thing you have to do, obviously, is upload your CSV file. And so hopefully I got one sitting here that I can grab. There we go. So I'll upload that. Okay, and you see what happens, right? The system recognizes the column headings in your file, and then it tries to map them to fields in SalesNexus. Some work and some don't. And you can change that. So like point of contact, I could change that to, agency. And, just go through and map your fields, right? And you notice right here, email address, when you map that, will automatically be selected for duplicate checking.
Okay.
See that?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if that email address is already in your database, it will not be added again.
Yeah, got it. And is there any unique ID? Like, I mean, is there supposed to be a unique ID which is going to map? Like, email address should be unique. Anything unique, or that's fine.
Yeah. So a couple of things here. You're obviously, you've been around this before, so you're asking, kind of detailed questions. There is a field. You see this ConSync pack?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a field in your account that is a unique ID for every contact.
Oh.
However, for reasons that, just basically to keep things simple for customers, you don't see that. You can't use it yourself unless we make a change on the back end for you. So if you want to be able to use that to match on and duplicate check and all of that, you can just reach out to our support team and they'll turn it on for you. So that's an option that you have. But the other thing I want to show you, because I feel like maybe this is why you're asking, is you can use any field to match and update existing contacts. You see that? So if I check this option here, now I got a separate column down here to check off.
Yeah. Good.
And I can say, for non-matching records, don't create new ones, just only update the ones I have. So if the email address matches, I want to make sure and update this point of contact and lead type, right?
Yeah.
And now I hit next. And it's not going to create any new contacts at all. It's only going to update these two fields for the contacts that do match my list. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Sure. Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, appreciate everybody's time. And first of all, recording of this session is on our YouTube channel. It's there now. And we'll be doing it again Friday at noon Eastern. So feel free to join us again. And of course, if we can help with anything, feel free to reach out to me directly or just reach out to the support team at support@salesnexus.com. And we'll be Johnny on the spot and get you where you're going. Thanks, everybody.
Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. This was awesome.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.